What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the fifth Speaking Sessions Virtual Summit. We've only got a few people here tonight, but they are going to be some amazing speakers for us to be able to talk about all things leadership. And so we are on the third week of leadership, but I promise you it's going to be another great session of leadership. We've got some great leaders here as well as great speakers. And so if you want to be a part of any of these, make sure that you go to our website, speakingsessions.com/virtual summit rather, to be a part of these so you can apply and we'll get you in with a theme that fits what your speech is all about. But we're going to go ahead and head right into our first speaker here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him on stage and then give him a little introduction. We've got Gresh Harkless. He is the founder of Blue 16 Media and CB Nation. Blue 16 Media uses media and technology to change lives. These media properties include Blue 16 Marketing, a digital marketing agency providing digital marketing services, including web design, website support, and SEO services. CB Nation consists of media properties such as blogs, podcasts, and videos, helping the business community succeed. And central to Blue 16's marketing philosophy is that you are a media company and that every organization is in the media business and can strategically leverage marketing tools, platforms, and ingredients to reach their goals. But without further ado, Gresh, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Philip. I truly appreciate the opportunity and all the awesome things that you're doing. And really, a lot of what I do is I'm going to take what you said and kind of run with it from the perspective of being like your own media company. I think one of the big things about being a leader is a lot of times you have that thought leadership. You potentially have accomplished a lot of things that really can change people's lives. But how are you getting that information out? And that's a lot of where I talk about being that media company, of understanding exactly what are in the hearts and minds of the people that you're trying to lead. You're trying to get them to go from point A to point B and go further along from there. So how exactly are you trying to understand and get that information out there so that you can basically empower the people so that they can run with the opportunity that you have? And I think anytime we're talking about leadership, ultimately what we're trying to do is to make sure that we're inspiring people towards action, towards a specific goal. And really the heart at being and creating your own media company is using really cool platforms and things that you have out there to start to connect with people in a somewhat of a unique way than we have in previous years and previous lifetimes to be able to make that happen. So part of what I really talk with people about is using what I call the ingredients, which are the different tools that we have within your media company. A lot of times I compare that to basically going to the grocery store to figure out what your favorite ingredients are that you want to put into your recipe so that you can connect with people and you can lead them to where they need to be. And there's a lot of different ingredients that we have like at our disposal. If you think of your favorite dish, I always go to my mom's sweet potato pie. It's my absolute favorite. You're going to figure out what ingredients you are going to want to put into that recipe to create whatever is that dessert. And that dessert is ultimately where you want to lead people to, what you want to inspire people to do. You're going to figure out what ingredients actually connect with them for that to happen. So when you are creating your media company, you're thinking about each of those ingredients. But going a little bit deeper, you want to understand, first of all, like what your goal is. As a leader, anytime you're leading people towards a specific place, you want to make sure that you understand, what does success look like? How do you define a success? And what are the steps that you're going to take for people to do that? Maybe you're trying to inspire people to put a sign up on the corner because the people are driving too fast on the highway, or maybe you do have a piece of legislation that you want to pass, or maybe you have your own business and you want to reach your next revenue goal. Whatever that is, you want to define exactly what that goal is, because once you do that, you take a step and start to understand your audience, and your audience are the people that are going to listen to whatever your message is, whatever might you might say that might inspire people. Whatever these things are, you're going to put all those things together and cater it directly to them. And the reason those two things are so important, your goal, and then also who you're trying to target in terms of the people that you're trying to lead and inspire and captivate their hearts, is because when you go into the grocery store and you figure out what those ingredients ingredients are is going to play a really pivotal piece. If you've ever tried to lead somebody that might be a little bit older, might be a boomer, if you're trying to lead them on a platform, a media platform like TikTok, that may not connect with them as much. And so thinking of it in the exact same way, when you're trying to figure out what those ingredients are, you're going to cater those ingredients exactly to who you're targeting, who you're trying to inspire, who you're trying to get to move that needle forward. So think of all the different platforms that you have out there. You have TikTok, you have Twitter or X, you have Instagram, you have also other platforms that I consider media too, which are your website, it could be your blog, your podcast, live streaming, all these different tools that are out there. And also don't forget the quote unquote like old school way that I consider to be a media, which is actually face to face networking, of talking with people, of writing books. All these are different ways that you can inspire people to do that. And when you figure out exactly what those ingredients are, I usually try to pick one or two of those essential ingredients that are going to help you to make sure that you're getting your message out to the right people. You kind of, just like you would if you're creating your favorite dish, mix those things up into what is going to be your overall strategy. And one of the really strong things that you want to know about each of the ingredients, each of the ways that you're going to connect with the people that you're trying to lead, is that you know the pros and cons of each of the ingredients. And I usually drill down a lot deeper into like all the different ingredients and the pros and cons of each. But just know that sometimes if you're connecting with boomers, for example, you might want to experiment with a platform like TikTok because you believe that it might be something that boomers end up spending more time in the future. So you connect with each of those. That audience that you're trying to connect with, and understand that these ingredients are going to help you get to ultimately where you want to be. So you mix up all the things that you're doing into that recipe. That recipe is exactly what's going to help you to execute on a regular basis. So you're starting to look at how many people are converting, and converting is definitely a marketing term, but no, converting can be the number of people that signed that petition to put that stop sign at the end of the driveway. It might be the number of people that vote for you because you're running for PTA president, or it might be the amount of revenue that you get, or the amount of clients that you have. Just know that you want to start looking at the quote unquote analytics, just as you would be putting a dessert into the oven. You put the dessert in the oven, you're checking to make sure that it's cooking directly. You're opening it up just to make sure everything's going well. You're going to do the exact same thing anytime you're trying to employ any type of marketing strategy, or you're trying to create some type of media opportunity. So continue to look into each of the things that you're doing and make sure that you have a metric. Of course, you want to have that be in alignment with your goal, but make sure that you have that metric so that you can define exactly what it is and how exactly you are being successful in whatever it is that you're trying to employ. And then from there, what you really want to do is make sure that you understand that this process is never like a one shot type of process. It's one of those things that you do over and over again. So one of the big things that I always recommend people doing is understand that you can always get better at everything that you're doing. And especially when you're a leader, you always want to sharpen the saw. You always want to find out how you can level up, for lack of a better term, from where you are. So as you go through that process and you see that campaign that you ran, or whatever it is that you were trying to accomplish, you may have been able to reach your goal, or you may figure out a way that you can reach your goal faster. Or if you didn't reach your goal in the way that you hoped, maybe you go back to the quote unquote drawing board and you figure out how you can kind of improve, or you can iterate on that those actions that you took to reach your goal. So that's why it's so important to understand that it's not a straight path towards the success that you're going to have. It's going to be something that's cyclical, that allows you to constantly improve and constantly get better. So just like going back to the analogy with creating your favorite dish, whether it be apple pie, sweet potato pie, or a chocolate cake, whatever your sweet tooth thing might be, you want to check it in the oven, but you want to test it out. You get to eat it, you get to try it, and you get to see how you do things better. So when you're thinking about that as a leader, did you reach your goal? how fast did you reach your goal? How impactful was that goal that you have? And those are all going to be metrics that you're going to use to kind of go back to the drawing board and continue to iterate. So just think of all the things that you can do as a leader to try to make that impact, and really understand that it's as simple as pie, as I like to say. It's not always as easy, but it's as simple as pie, and understanding that process so that you can get to and reach out and connect with and communicate with the people that you want to have and lead, and make the ultimate impact that you can have. So this is me, and this is Gresh. So I hope this is impactful, but just know that in all aspects of your life, you can definitely create your own media company.
Love it, love it. And I know we've connected through, that's actually how we connected, was through your media company and everything, doing an article there for you from Haro, Help a Reporter Out, and everything. So really cool to see what you've been doing there. And I love the analogy of pies. I think that's a unique thing as well. As leaders, we all have our own unique spin, our own unique pie. And not everybody's going to like us, because some people will love apple pie, some people will hate it.
Mhm.
And so we have to be our true self in order to be a great leader. So appreciate what you shared with us, Gresh.
Thanks, Philip.
All right. All right. Well, let's move on to our next speaker. We've got Kyle, and let me bring him up here. Kyle, if you want to go ahead and turn on your camera, that'd be great. All right. We've got Kyle here, and it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker today. Kyle's journey is a remarkable testament to the power of resilience, leadership, and innovation. A proud veteran of the United States Marine Corps, thank you for your service. He served our country with valor across 2 combat tours in Iraq. His transition from the front lines of military service to the forefront of the sales tech industry showcases not just adaptability, but a deep-rooted commitment to excellence and service. Years of employment challenges and overcoming homelessness and alcohol addiction, Kyle has dedicated himself to serving others. Today, Kyle stands out as at the helm of his own venture, a sales technology consulting firm that is not just a business, but a mission to revolutionize the business sales landscape through innovative tools, technology, and strategies. Kyle's speech today, titled Navigating Life's Ambushes, a journey of resilience and leadership, promises to be insightful exploration of how the principles of military leadership can transform sales strategies and business practices. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to a true leader, innovator, and advocate, Mr. Kyle.
Wow, Philip, amazing. It's as if I wrote that myself. I just want to thank you so much for this opportunity to come here, speak to your audience, speak in front of you, and really take a shot at my first speech, my first quote unquote TED Talk type talk, right? And so today what I want to do is start with an introduction. My name is Kyle Kusiemba, beyond what was already said, which was great. I'm a 42-year-old father of 2, a husband, and a business owner. And as mentioned, I'm a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. I served 2 combat tours in Iraq, one during 2003, the buildup for the initial war, as well as another tour in 2004 to 2005. Early before I had joined the Marine Corps, as a teen, I worked in the hospitality industry. My life began then as a life of service, and I didn't realize it at that time. But now when I look back, it's very clear that it began as one of service, one where I was able to serve not only just regular diners, but VIPs and celebrities. And I was managing this beautiful restaurant in Westchester County, New York. And I really had the opportunity to learn what it was like and what it felt like to provide exemplary service to others. Now, of course, shortly at some point before 9/11, when I was 19 years old, I joined the Marine Corps, signed up with a recruiter, didn't really know what I was doing with my life. I was looking for a change. Shortly after that, 9/11 happened and everything changed. I wasn't expecting that, obviously. Neither was my mother when I promised her everything was going to be fine when I'm going to join the Marine Corps. There's no war. It's been peace for so many years. Well, here we are now facing the greatest terror attack since Pearl Harbor, and we lost 2 Marines from my unit, a reserve unit out of Brooklyn, New York, and Long Island, New York. We lost them in the towers. One was a firefighter, one was a police officer. That really changed everything from my youth. Living in New York, it hit home. I had the opportunity and the pleasure as a unit. We were trying to deploy down to Ground Zero, and we were able to get there to perform security around Pier 92 and Ground Zero and perform convoy security and all sorts of security missions throughout New York City. It was an incredible experience for a young 20-something, and that would soon lead to 2003 to our first deployment to Iraq. And this is where I would learn so many things. Now, as a young person, I wasn't aware of what to expect in war. This is what I had wanted. This is what I was trained for. So I begged my commanding officer to get a mission to go into Iraq from Kuwait, which is where my battalion was. I was granted that opportunity and I was given a mission, but I was also told at that point that this was the most dangerous mission that our battalion had. It was also our mission, if any, that we would likely lose Marines. And if anyone were to die, it would probably be one of us. Now, as a 20-year-old, this is some heavy stuff to take on. But I recall this scene from an HBO series called The Band of Brothers. Told the story of D-Day and beyond in the theater in Europe during World War II. And there was a scene where a soldier was in a foxhole at the end of a battle and he was cowered in the corner. And it turned out he had not fired his weapon the entire time during the battle. And his sergeant said to him, he said, "I know what your problem is. Your problem is that you still have hope. You still have hope that you're going to make it home. As soon as you are able to accept the fate that you are dead, you will then be able to operate." And it is that kind of mentality that is required in war to be able to operate. And so therefore I sat after receiving my mission, having lunch, accepting my fate as death, accepting that I won't make it home, and that was the only way I would be able to operate in the war. Now, that mentality served me very well in a combat theater. It allowed me to make it through being ambushed or missiles or constant mortar attack with multiple close calls. It helped me in a combat zone push aside the horrors of combat to be able to operate. Well, I made it home after my second deployment in 2005, thinking that I had done it. The battle was over. I was alive, but I hadn't realized that really a lot of the battle had just begun. Yeah, I made it home, and now I had to honor that because I didn't feel like I deserved to make it home. But I would soon find out that my resiliency would be tested even greater than it was in war. Because in war, I had a lot of people around me. I had brothers and sisters around me that wouldn't let me fail. When you come home, you're on your own. You may have family and friends, but very few of them understand what you've been going through. So now I was home. I jumped into financial sales and banking, and I was serving again. Found myself serving clients, those who were high net worth, living outside in the suburbs of New York City. I did very well there, but eventually the housing crisis and multiple factors led to me leaving that job to go back to school. But I found myself becoming homeless. Ran out of money. I didn't have any benefits. I didn't have any income. I had to sell everything I had on the internet in order to survive. But now I was living in a tent in the woods with my dog. I was struggling with alcohol to combat my PTSD, and I was self-medicating. And now I was in the woods, homeless, with no income. I had sold everything, but I realized I could go out and find other stuff to sell. So I started going to garage sales and book sales, and I started flipping items from those sales on Amazon and on the internet. I quickly grew an e-commerce business to six figures. I had a warehouse, employees, became pretty successful pretty quickly, and that led to my demise. I ended up losing that business due to my own stupidity. And so I found myself once again with no income, back against the wall. This time I had a family, I had a wife and a young daughter. So I had to get a job. I got a job. I got another W-2 in sales back in the financial industry. Eventually, I would get sick of financial sales and corporate sales and go serve veterans for my local county for filing for disability benefits. That service continued, but my entrepreneurial spirit never died. So all the time while I had a W-2, I was constantly looking for my next business, my great next venture. So I started multiple businesses, and some of them had varying successes and varying failures. But one thing that I do know is that none of them were a failure in my eyes. Every single one of them was a stepping stone and a learning experience. And that is a key to mental resiliency. And it's a key to entrepreneurship and real leadership. You have to be optimistic. You have to understand where the potential is and where you can take things. So I was able to start multiple ventures, multiple experiences while I was working on my W-2. And then eventually I found myself back in sales for a number of years, selling consulting services to Fortune 500s. But I would again, and this is recently, I would again lose that job and find myself with my back up against the wall and with no income. Again, relying on my experience and my resiliency to pick myself up off the ground to move forward against this new challenge. It's at this time that I started my current agency, an agency where I consult sales teams and businesses on sales technology and implementation of technology that helps close more deals and get more leads. Again, I find myself serving. I find myself relying and leaning on my resiliency from my combat experience, from my time in war, and from the great leadership that I saw around me to be resilient and to continue to lead both personally, in my family, and in my business. What I can tell you now is that if you are still breathing, you still have fight in you. I learned that no matter what, if you get knocked down, you pick yourself back up. If you can't get back up, you crawl. If you can't crawl, you grab your rifle and you take up a defensive position and you provide cover. But if you're still breathing, you're still in the fight. And that's the message I want to send to you. My challenges are all overcomable, as are yours. And what I want you to come walk away with is knowing that you can continue to be resilient, you can continue to pick yourself up, and you can continue to strive forward and succeed. And I want to thank you, and I want to thank Philip for this opportunity and the opportunity to speak in front of all of you.
Man, a great message there. And you're exactly right. Leadership comes down to resilience and just never giving up. And I think a lot of that comes down to the vision we have. I mean, you had so many different aspects that you talked about there. You're back against the wall, fighting through failure. Even if you failed, you kept going. And a lot of times we consider that not failure, but rather a lesson learned. Failure being when we finally give up. But resilience is definitely a word. When I think of leadership, that's a word that I think of. So, Kyle, appreciate you sharing that message with us tonight.
100%, Philip. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can't fail if you don't quit playing the game.
Exactly. All right. Well, we have one last speaker tonight. It was a short night, but nonetheless, still amazing night here with all of these leaders. So we're going to bring our last speaker on, and it is Jose Rivera. He is a husband, father, blue collar business owner, church leader, and aspiring speaker. But without further ado, Jose, take it away.
Thank you, Philip. Thanks again to the speakers that went before me. I was having a little technical difficulties here, but along the lines of leadership, I think this message will kind of like be a bookend to the topics that we have tonight. And just diving right in, I want to get into it. And I want to talk about leading yourself first before you lead others. And I think you'll see a theme through the speakers who went before me and were talking about how you have to be able to lead yourself first. You know, if we want to show and become that leadership example, that has to be working first in us. You know, many times people want to lead from a position of title. You know, and John C. Maxwell talks about you can only lead by what people actually give you, the type of expectations or the authority that they give you. You know, it's real easy to lead from title if you're an owner of a business. There's a paycheck involved. There's all sorts of those things that we have, but you have to be able to lead from within, show your heart, the servant heartedness that, you know, the speaker was saying before about being able to serve those around you. So one of the things the onus is put on us as leaders at all times. So I just like to give us a reminder of how are we showing up? You know, how do we talk to our people, our clients, our customers? How do we answer our calls? How do we treat those around us? How do we interact with those around us? Because a lot of times there's going to be a public persona of leadership and then the private. And, you know, as many people grow and they become more aware, famous and celebrities in their space, you know, there's nothing worse than meeting someone and you're thinking like, oh man, that person isn't really like they are online, that the way they are offline. So one thing I want to encourage all of us is to continue to be real and authentic in our leadership. You know, a lot of times leading, it takes a lot of energy. It takes that passion. It takes different things that we have to put into our lives in order to make sure that we're taking those people that are following us where we want to go. So tonight I'd like to share in 3 areas of leadership that I think will really help us continue to grow. So the first thing that I believe that we need in leadership is we need to lead from passion. Now, a lot of times people will say, well, Jose, don't you think we should start with vision? And we'll get to that. But I really believe that passion has to start first within us as the leaders. Now, when I think of a passionate leadership, I'm a football junkie. I love football. I think of someone like a Hall of Famer like Ray Lewis in his heyday, firing up the team on the sideline, getting everybody ready to go. You know, for us who are in the speaking space, we can look at someone like Eric Thomas, right? Motivational speaker, and how he has that energy and that drive. And it'd be real nice if we had a voice like that too, to go along with that message, right? Or we can look at someone like Mother Teresa, who was a little more reserved and quiet, but when she spoke, the world listened. So I don't want to put us in a leadership box, but I'd like you to find your voice, find your style, be who you are, and just continue to be consistent in your character and your methodology and how you're showing up in life. And that's going to transfer over into that leadership. Now, passion and energy, it brings those around us. So whether you're leading a company, you're starting a movement, you're leading an organization, a nonprofit, there has to be passion there in order to attract people that are like-minded and they want to say, hey, I want to lay down my thing and take up your thing that you're going down the field with. And that, I believe that really starts with that passion first, because if you don't have that passion every day that you get out of bed, then you're not going to be able to, it's going to be less manufactured in the person, your number 2 person, your team, your employees down the stream, whatever kind of industry that you're in. But that passion has to start with you and then begin to clone into those that are around you. So passion is what we continue to have to begin to start with. It's that fuel, it's that fire that continues to ignite us, the journey that we're on, and of course, leading in whatever capacity that we find ourselves, again, companies, corporations, nonprofit, it has to start with passion. Secondly, you need to lead from vision. So this is where vision comes in. So first you have passion, now you have that vision. So think of the vision as the fuel is to that vision, is that fire that's going to get people to see that big picture that you're painting. And most of the time when people come around you, they're going to think, hey, how in the heck are we going to accomplish this? Well, that's where that passion comes in. And now you start to put that vision. You know, many times you can see great companies that were great at one time, right? Think of Apple. When Jobs was there, now that he's passed on, but when Jobs was there, they had conferences and they had connection and they had groups and they had just this fervor and this ferocity of what Apple stood for. But now that he's passed on, Apple has kind of gone into a holding pattern. It's kind of actually gone down. It's because of the brand loyalty that people are there, but it's not the same as it once was. And I think a lot of times companies can lose that vision. They lose that passion, they lose that vision, and now they're just existing. You know, it's said that about 80% of employees are disengaged in the type of work that they're doing. You know, that's a scary thought, right? If we have employees, you know, I have one guy that works with me now, and I want to continue to grow this to, you know, the sky's the limit basically in my industry. And I know that you want to be able to grow that too. But if 80% of people are disengaged, then think about if you don't have that passion and if you're not continuing to massage that vision week after week, day after day into your teams, well, how are people going to come to work, right? They're disengaged already. They're disengaged at home. They're going through things, the recession, all sorts of things are helping them get dislodged and disengaged from the vision that you have. And then they're willing to leave you for a few dollars more, but actually you have that future Apple, that future Amazon, that future company that's going to disrupt the industry. You have that, but because you don't have the passion and the vision, you can't communicate that. So a lot of times you're losing good people because we don't have that communication. We don't have that passion. We don't have that vision that we're continuing to point people back in the hard times. This is why we're doing what we're doing. This is why we're continuing to grow and try to become disruptors in our industry. For me, I'm trying to do that simply with customer service. Business 101, do what you say you're going to do and do it every single time, every single interaction that you have with a customer. It's real simple, but sometimes it's really hard to do. So not only we have to lead with passion, we have to lead with vision, and lastly, we have to lead from mission. So these are the three things that will continue to put us together as far as having that leadership and where we want to go. See, passion and mission help solidify a great leadership style, and you'll have that continuing to move forward. See, the mission is the vehicle on how you accomplish your vision. The passion is the fuel that ignites that mission. So again, the fuel that's going to get people into your leadership vehicle. So I'd like to ask you tonight, who is riding along in your leadership vehicle? And do you know where you're going and where you're taking them? So that's why we have to continue to look at the passion, the vision, the mission within us first as leaders, because we have to have that as figured out as much as we can. Because the worst thing we can do is say, I'm not sure where I'm going in this leadership vehicle. Let me turn and let someone else drive. Let another person who's only come onto the company a few months drive this vision. But they aren't going to go to the destination or where you have. You have that internal GPS within inside of you. And that's how that passion, that vision, and that mission will continue to play out. So I'd like to encourage you here tonight. Do you have leadership pegged in your life where you want to make an impact in those coming behind you? Your family, your teams, your future teams, the endeavors, your movement, your nonprofit, your church, whatever you're part of. Do you have that working first within your life? I see so many people stumble and stall because they always try to export something that's not working in their lives first. So again, anything that you want people to do, it has to be working within your life first. So tonight, my friends, I'd like to encourage you to continue to develop white hot passion, get back to the vision that you had, and overlook the mission of what you want to accomplish. Once you have those three things working in tandem together, then you can lead yourself and you can lead others far beyond where you thought you could go.
Awesome, Jose. And man, that vision piece, I mean, I resonate with all of it, but the vision piece, I can't help but think of Ed Milet, I think is the one who said this, and probably somebody before him too. But he talks about if your vision as a leader is not so big that the people that you lead, their vision can fit within your vision as a leader, they're going to go find a leader that has that bigger vision that theirs fits within. And so as leaders, it's crucial for us to have a great vision for sure. But all of those pieces that you mentioned there, passion, vision, and mission, are so important as leaders for us to be able to lead a team, lead people to the destination that we're trying to go on as that leader. So great message. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Of course. All right. Well, you heard from 3 speakers tonight that did very well, talked about leadership. And so if you want to be a speaker on this stage in the future, make sure that you go to our website, speakingsessions.com/virtual-summit, where you can apply to be one of our next speakers on this virtual summit. But with that, you all have a great night. Thank you for being a part of this live session.